Hi everyone. Welcome to the channel. Today's story is about Molly. From struggle to strength, the inspiring story of a single mother's triumph, Molly's journey. Introduction. In a quiet corner of the city, behind worn apartment walls and beneath the weight of unpaid bills, lived a woman named Molly, single mother with a tired soul and a heart that refused to quit. Life hadn't given her many breaks. Abandoned by her partner, left to raise 3 children on her own, and burdened by poverty, isolation, and endless responsibilities, Molly's journey was not one of overnight transformation, but of slow, painful perseverance. Her days were shaped by survival working low-wage jobs, skipping meals so her children could eat, wiping away her tears before waking them for school. She battled exhaustion, doubt, and moments of quiet despair that no one ever saw. But within her, hidden beneath fatigue and fear, lived an ember of hope that would not burn out. This is the story of a woman who fell to her knees more times than she could count, but rose every single time for her children, for herself, and for the life she believed they all deserved. Through heartbreak, hardship, sacrifice, and faith, Molly would learn that peace doesn't always come in the absence of struggle, but in the courage to face it and the strength to rise above it. A cold beginning. Molly stood alone in the kitchen, her hands wrapped tightly around a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee. The winter air seeped through the cracks of her poorly insulated apartment. At 34, she had become a single mother of 3 children, Ella, 10, Jordan, 7, and Liam, just 3. Her husband had walked out 2 years ago after a series of betrayals, leaving her buried in debt and broken dreams. There were no support checks, no calls, no goodbyes, just silence. Each morning began with exhaustion, not rest. She worked nights as a cashier in a 24-hour grocery store, then returned to care for the children, make breakfast, get them dressed, and walk them to school. Sleep came in short bursts, 2 hours here, 1 hour there. Molly often wondered how she was still standing. Every task felt like climbing a mountain. Jordan had learning difficulties and often came home crying, bullied for being slow. Ella was old enough to notice their struggles and had started skipping meals, pretending she wasn't hungry so there would be enough for Liam. Molly's heart ached, knowing her children bore burdens far too heavy for their age. But she didn't have the luxury of giving up. She told herself every day, "They're watching. I have to keep going." The depth of despair. Molly's world grew darker when she lost her night job. The store had been bought out, and she was one of the first laid off. With no income, she fell behind on rent. The landlord served them an eviction notice. Panic took over. She cried for hours one night in the bathroom, muffling her sobs in a towel so the kids wouldn't hear. There were days she didn't eat at all. She applied for every job she could, find dishwasher, cleaner, babysitter, but nothing came through fast enough. She applied for government aid, but bureaucracy was slow. Pride had to be swallowed as she visited food banks. One frigid night, with her children asleep in the same bed for warmth, Molly curled into the corner of their one-bedroom apartment, knees pulled to her chest. She felt invisible, discarded by the world. Depression set in like a fog. There was no time for therapy, no support network, just survival. But amidst the despair, a voice whispered her own voice, reminding her that her children still smiled when she tucked them in, that Ella still drew "I love you, Mom" cards, that Jordan still held her hand tightly every walk home. That voice became her anchor. Small glimmers of hope. One morning, a flyer on the community bulletin board caught Molly's eye. Free job training for single mothers. Her heart fluttered with a cautious mix of hope and skepticism. The program offered certification in medical billing and administration skills she could use for stable, daytime work. She signed up immediately. Classes were held at a local community center in the afternoons just after school drop-off. It meant juggling, even more scheduling, babysitting swaps with another single mom she met at the food bank, studying at night while the kids slept. It was hard. Molly hadn't studied in over a decade, but she pushed herself. She stayed after class for tutoring, used library computers, and practiced typing drills with Ella cheering her on. Slowly, she began to see herself not just as a struggling mother, but as someone with potential. For the first time in a long time, she imagined a different futura, steady income, an apartment with heat, maybe even weekend outings with her kids. Hope didn't feel like a luxury anymore. It felt like a plan. turning the corner. 6 months later, Molly completed the certification program. She graduated top of her class. The director of the program helped her land an interview at a small medical clinic. Molly arrived early, wearing a secondhand blazer and nerves wound tight. She spoke honestly, professionally, and to her surprise, the interviewer nodded with admiration more than once. 3 days later, she was hired. The job came with health insurance, regular hours, and enough pay to finally get ahead. Molly could barely believe it. When she told the kids, they jumped and clapped, not fully understanding the financial implications, but sensing her joy. With her first paycheck, she caught up on rent and bought a proper bed for Liam. Then she framed her certificate and hung it in the hallway. Every morning she passed by it on her way out and whispered, "You did it." There were still challenges: Jordan's learning needs, Ella's teenage worries, childcare logistics, but the tone of their lives was shifting from survival to progress. Finding balance. Now working full-time, Molly learned to manage both motherhood and career. She established routines: dinner together every evening, homework hour with music playing softly, bedtime stories by candlelight when the power bill ran high. She made it a priority to check in with each child. Ella began journaling with her. Jordan was enrolled in a reading intervention program and was showing real improvement. Liam started preschool, waving proudly at the door like a little man. Molly began to smile again, the kind of smile that reached her eyes. She joined a local women's support group where she shared her story and listened to others. There she found friends, strength, and community. On weekends, they visited the park or simply stayed in, laughing over burnt pancakes and pillow forts. Life wasn't perfect, but it no longer felt like a war zone. A heart at peace. As the years passed, Molly's life transformed in quiet, meaningful ways. She was promoted to lead administrator. She started a small savings account. Her children blossomed. Ella became her school's valedictorian. Jordan built confidence as a passionate artist. And Liam grew into a joyful, curious boy. Molly even started volunteering at the job program that once saved her. She mentored other single moms, offering advice, encouragement, and hope. "You don't have to be perfect," she often said. "You just have to keep going." Peace didn't come all at once, but piece by piece, through routines, through laughter, through healing. Looking back. One spring evening, Molly sat on the porch of their modest but cozy home. The sun dipped below the trees as her kids played in the yard. She sipped tea, breathing in deeply. She thought of the nights she couldn't breathe from anxiety, the days she couldn't imagine a way forward, the tiny victories that led to giant milestones, the invisible bruises healed by love and endurance. She had faced poverty, loneliness, heartbreak, and doubt and risen. Not through magic, but through sheer will and faith in something better. A letter to herself. That night, Molly wrote a letter to her younger self. "Dear Molly, I know you're tired. I know you cry in silence and smile so your kids don't worry. I know you feel like a failure, but you're not. One day, you'll have a home where laughter echoes off the walls. You'll have kids who thrive because of your love. You'll have peace not because the world got easier, but because you became stronger. Keep going, they're watching, and one day they'll thank you for never giving up. With love, future you." The gift of peace. Molly's story wasn't about miracles. It was about persistence, about how love can carry you through the darkest seasons, about what happens when a woman chooses to rise even when the world gives her every reason to fall. She had no riches, no fame, but she had peace, she had purpose, and she had 3 beautiful reasons to believe that her struggle was not in vain. Molly, the single mother who once wondered if she'd ever make it, had not only survived, she had turned the page and written a life of strength, grace, and quiet triumph. Conclusion. Molly's journey was not defined by grand gestures or sudden miracles. It was shaped by quiet resilience, relentless love, and the slow, steady fight for a better life. She rose from the ashes of abandonment and despair to build a home filled with laughter, warmth, and dignity. Through sleepless nights, tear-stained prayers, and moments of hopelessness, she discovered that strength isn't the absence of fear or struggle, it's the courage to keep moving forward despite them. In reclaiming her life, Molly didn't just survive, she transformed. She became her children's protector, provider, and guiding light. She became her own hero. Her story reminds us that even in our darkest hours, we hold the power to rewrite our narrative. We can fall, we can break, but we can also rise stronger, wiser, and more whole than before. Peace, for Molly, wasn't a destination. It was a promise, fulfilled through sacrifice, stitched together with every act of love, and found in the arms of the family she never gave up on. Hers is not just a story of survival, it is a legacy of hope. Lessons learned from Molly's story. 1. Strength often looks quiet. True strength isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it's found in wiping away tears before your children wake up, pushing through exhaustion, and showing up even when the world feels like it's falling apart. 2. Love is a powerful motivator. Molly's deepest drive came from her love for her children. That love gave her purpose, helped her push past limits, and reminded her that giving up was never an option. Love can carry us farther than we believe possible. 3. It's okay to ask for help. Seeking out job training programs, food banks, and emotional support wasn't weakness, it was survival and growth. Molly's story teaches us that asking for help is a courageous step toward healing and change. 4. Small victories build big change. From completing a class to getting a job, each small win became a stepping stone to a better future. No progress is too small to celebrate, each step forward matters. 5. Your past doesn't define your future. Though Molly began in hardship, her story didn't end there. With time, effort, and faith, she rewrote her future. We all have the power to turn the page and begin again. 6. Peace is possible even after pain. Molly found peace not because life became perfect, but because she embraced her journey, healed, and built a life rooted in love, purpose, and hope. Peace comes from within and from the choices we make every day. 7. You are not alone. Molly's journey shows that while the road may feel isolating, others have walked it too. There is community, support, and healing for those brave enough to reach for it. Thanks for listening, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspirational life stories. If you have your own story, please send to us in order to share to the public. Remember, your story can help and change someone's life.